Hello everyone, this is Prerna Arora Singh from Jaipur, Rajasthan. Once again, I'm with you, and as I said earlier, and I promised that I'm gonna bring a beautiful guest with us. So many people have already known to Donna Price. She's from International Road Victims Partnership. She's a co-founder there, and uh, who Donna is for those who does not know who do not know the Donna Price founded the Irish Road Victims Association in 2012 following the sudden death of her 18-year-old son Darren in a car crash in Ireland in March 2006. She was appointed to the board of the Irish Road Safety Authority in January 2018, where she continues to serve. In April 2017, Donna founded the International Road Victims Partnership. IRVP is a partnership of some 135 plus NGOs from all regions of the world. Their mission is to reduce road dangers and improve the post crash response. IRVP advocates for the rights of road victims at local, regional, and global level, thereby providing a stronger voice for seriously injured road victims and for families left bereaved by road crashes. IRBP is a member of the UN Road Safety Collaboration also, and the organization is run entirely by volunteers and is co-chaired by both Donna and Vivian Perrone from Argentina, and Harpreet Singh from India is secretary. We have met Harpreet in the morning, and now we have a Donna from the International Road Victims Partnership, and I am also a proud part of IRVP. So, welcome Donna on our show.
Thank you,
This
Prerna.
show this show names Drive Safer Mission Possible, which we concluded our One Safe Speed Challenge women drivers convoy recently in last month, and there's a we are running right now. We are commemorating National Road Safety Month. This time we are not celebrating only 7 days. We are actually continuing till 30 days, and it is a government of India who announced first time in India to celebrate this National Road Safety Month, and our honorable prime minister and both transport minister both are very serious, and they are working on dedicatedly on road safety and bringing down the fatalities on road, and they are very keen to achieve that UN decade target of halving deaths by 2025 only. They don't want to take it to the 2030. So these are some good steps India is taking, to come down the fatality on road. I just want to ask you a question. Start from your story on, though I have mentioned in the your profile that how you have come up on this road safety victim rights issues. So if you could share what happened that day, if it's not bothered you again, if you can share that story with why you have started. Tona, over to you.
I will, Prerna, and thank you very much for inviting me onto the show today. And it's great to see the commitment by the Indian government to reducing deaths and serious injuries on the road. As you know, I lost my lovely son Darren in a road traffic collision in 2006. Um, I'm a mother of four children, and Darren was 18 years old. He left our home here in Mullingar in Ireland to travel to college, not too far away in the Irish Midlands in Athlone. And sadly, he was killed, fatally injured in a crash with a large HGV lorry. And Darren was killed instantly in that collision. And I suppose our whole world crumbled around us that day. Our lives were absolutely destroyed.
Yes.
As every parent knows, your worst nightmare is to lose one of your children. And
Yes.
unfortunately, it had happened to us, and there was nothing that we could do. We couldn't rewind the clock. Our lives have been very severely impacted and changed, in fact, forever. We'll never get over the loss of our lovely son. Um, it was a totally preventable collision, and that makes it even
Okay.
worse to accept. If
Yes.
it was an incurable illness, maybe we could accept it a little bit better. But knowing that his death could and should have been prevented makes it even harder for us to bear. So, what we do now, and all we can do now, is to try and keep his memory alive, and to make sure that lessons are learnt from his death. So,
Yes.
at least his death won't have been in vain.
Yes.
And that's why we went on to set up the Irish Road Victims Association,
Yes.
so that families like my own would have support and information to help them deal with the horrific aftermath of
Yes.
losing a loved one in a crash like that.
Yes.
Because not only have you to deal with your own grief and funerals and things like that that follow the death of your child, but also you have to deal with the legalities that follow that, like the police investigation and maybe
Yes.
a prosecution or criminal trial, and maybe compensation that you might need, if you're severely injured, for instance, to try and rebuild your life.
Yes.
Um, so before we set up IRVA, the Irish Road Victims Association, there was no such help for families. So families
Okay.
missed deadlines and things like that. So they may have found
Hmm.
themselves out of time
Hmm.
with court cases and things. So we're there now to provide that help and support. And
Okay.
we also come together then with a large memorial event every year where families come together to remember their loved ones. And it's a very moving event. And that helps families to deal with their grief. And it
Hmm.
also highlights the devastation so that people can see and know that dangerous driving does severely impact lives. It ruins
Yes.
people's lives.
Yes.
So
True.
we're always trying to raise awareness of the devastation that's caused. And then we're
Yes.
also trying to work to reduce the dangers on the road. We all know the causes of crashes. Simple things like speeding,
Yes.
being on your phone when you're driving, driving while impaired through alcohol or drugs, or even through drowsiness if you're tired.
Yes.
Um, and all of these things are there, and our road traffic laws are there for our safety. And if you break those laws, then they're crimes. You're breaking the
Yes.
law. It's a crime like every other crime, and it needs to be
True.
treated like that
True.
by the authorities. So we work to make sure we have effective deterrence, so that if you break the law, if you're caught a few times, you will lose your license and you lose the privilege of being able to drive on the roads. Because after all, our driving license, it is a privilege. It's not a right,
Yes.
and it
Yes.
doesn't allow you to endanger other road users. So, yeah, we need to have effective deterrence in place. We need to have proper enforcement of the laws. We need to see the police out on the roads. Um, and for those who are breaking the rules and endangering other road users, there needs to be a deterrent there to stop them doing that.
Yes.
So the more dangerous your actions are, then the more severe the deterrent should be. And with your
Yes.
license being withdrawn, if you drive so dangerously that you're risking the lives of other road users. So
True.
we work to make sure that we have those deterrents in place, that we have effective enforcement, that the police are out on the road rigorously enforcing the laws, so that ordinary families can go about their business safely. And that's
Yes.
all we want. Everybody should have the right to use our roads safely, whether it is
Yes.
going to school or going to work. We should all be able to get home safely to our families.
True.
And so that's the message we try to get out in IRVA and in the IRVP as well. And the IRVP is the international partnership that we set up. And it's, as you said, Prana, it's made up now of over 135 NGOs from all regions of the world. And the idea in coming together was to ensure that we strengthen the voice of the victims.
Yes.
Because at the moment, as you know, we are losing over 1.35 million people every year on the roads of
Yes.
the world. That's 3,700 people every single day, 10 airplanes coming down, and yet we hear nothing about them. And
Yes.
why? We hear nothing about them because they tend to be individual tragedies,
Very
small
true.
families left alone to deal with the aftermath. Um, and nobody knows about them, nobody hears about them. So that's why we've come together to try to strengthen the voice of the victims on a global level, to make sure that we have a seat at the table when we're discussing these issues that have affected so many of our families all around the world.
Very true.
And together we have released 5 or 6 reports now, and all of those reports are available on our website, iorvp.org. And we
So,
invite everybody to go and have a look.
my focus, sorry to interrupt you. I just, because we have done lot of reports, I am a part of that also. But my focus will be if you can throw a light on hit and run global survey which we did last year, and because in India also, and I think in mainly low and middle income country, this is a very big problem about the hit and run thing. And that time, as you said, that aftermath when we do not even know the which vehicle was involved, and that people do those families even don't get the insurance claim properly because we do not have a vehicle, we do not have a driver, we do not know who has done that, because I lost my cousin brother. It was a hit and run case itself, and we do not know what happened to him. We just got a call from one ambulance person that we are taking him to the hospital, and he was severely head injury was there, and he didn't survive. And he never come back. Like, so that is why, in India it is a very big challenge, to deal with because as in we are not very well off country, we are underdeveloped country, and people are not very well off, and who are dying on in the hit and run case, those are mainly pedestrians and bicyclists or two-wheeler riders, because they are the more vulnerable and prone to get the bigger vehicles and hitting by them, and they very bigger vehicles are running away. So if you can draw, like, in that report, how many regions you have covered, if you have that idea, and what is the conclusion you have found in that report? Over to you, Rona.
Well, we carried out a survey amongst all of our members, Prana, and over 70 NGOs replied to
Okay.
our survey. So we analysed all of the replies to the questions and completed our report on that basis. And the stories that we covered from our members included that of Dilip Patro, there from the
Yes.
Agility people in India. And we
Yes.
all know how Dilip's life was
Yes.
absolutely destroyed in a hit and
Yes.
run crash. And
Yes.
so many others have also been impacted in the same way. And it's
Yes.
quite unbelievable that somebody can mow you down on the road and leave the scene of the crash with no
Yes.
regard for whether you will survive, whether you need emergency treatment for your injuries to help you to survive. So it is quite appalling that a fellow human being would do that to another.
Yes.
So what we need to put in place are effective deterrents to stop people, to prevent them from leaving the scene of a crash.
Yes.
So the penalty must be so severe that it makes sure that people will not do it. Um,
Yes.
we must all come to the assistance of our fellow human beings, particularly when we may have caused that crash. Um,
Yes.
it doesn't take a lot to call for assistance to help. And I know that in India you have the Good Samaritan law there now, which is fantastic, and it's a
Yeah.
very welcome development. And I hope
Yes.
that all of the citizens will take it to heart and come to the
Yes.
aid and rescue of their fellow human being. So really, the report was a quite comprehensive report on the what happens in the various countries, and we have had NGOs set up by parents who have lost their children in a hit and run collision, where their
Yes.
child would have been left to bleed to death at the side of the road. And it's already impossible to deal with the loss of your child in a fatal crash when they are
Yes.
rescued and all of that. But knowing that
Yes.
they were actually left to die like an animal at the side of the road, it really
True.
doesn't bear thinking about.
Yes.
So we have to have really thorough investigations in such circumstances. The police must do all that they can to try and apprehend those who are responsible, and to have effective deterrents in place so that, for instance, if it was an impaired driver who left the scene, maybe somebody who's impaired through alcohol or drugs, and they've left the scene because they're afraid of being caught, then they
Yes.
must not only face a penalty for drunken driving, but also another penalty for leaving the scene, which must be equally as harsh,
Yes.
in order to act as a deterrent.
Yes.
Um, and then, that's the punishment, I suppose, has to be an effective deterrent. And then we must have appropriate care and compensation for the victims, those like Dilip, who were left paralysed um, and having to fend for themselves with no proper compensation, because the driver has left the scene. There's no insurance probably in place. So the government must come in to ensure appropriate care and compensation for those victims. And they cannot be
Yeah.
left alone to fend for themselves, because basically what we're doing is we're letting them down twice. Firstly,
Yes.
in not preventing their injury or their death, and secondly, by not compensating them adequately, and by not ensuring that there is appropriate justice, or some semblance of justice for their loss.
One another report also we have done, I think that was a different for investigation procedures, how to investigate the, I think that was a different report, or it was a hit and run case we have covered. One report we have discussed on the investigation procedure also, right?
Yes, IOVP have completed a number of reports. I have copies of them here. Um, the first one was the manifesto there on post-crash response,
Yes,
which we launched at our global conference for road victims in Ireland in
yes,
2018. And what that outlines are, improvements in the post-crash response, which we need to see if
yes.
victims are to obtain justice. And that is one of the primary focuses in the IOVP, that we would have thorough investigations and justice and compensation for the victims. Um,
Yes.
the second report then was road death investigation, which is what you mentioned there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. This was important because in India
Yes,
we do not have a proper investigation procedure. Like police just they do not know how to do a proper investigation, and victims also do not know. We do not have like you have set up in Irish. You started in your introduction that you have set up this Irish victim organization to support the families so that they can meet together and they can get the help to go to the government and do the compensation and all other procedures. But still in India we do not have, actually, even not even we NGOs are not able to doing that kind of work to bring people. I have done some I did a study also on NGOs and police department and the victims who have suffered, and we reached to them. Nobody has approached them and they do not know what is the procedure, and sometimes due to the ignorance or due to the missing the chance, they don't get even the compensation which is there. They don't even know where to get the compensation and what type of claims they can go. So that is I really find it a very good thing you have done at Irish also, and now through IRVP you are building our capacity through these reports, and now you are helping us, the local NGOs at different regions, to work on that particular thing. But as a member, I know, and I have felt really very well, and now I'm doing with my government and asking them to start some kind post counseling centers, so at least those victims can get the proper help, aid, or support to where to go, whom to approach, and all their, at least their trauma should be listened, and you know where they can come and see and tell their things. So I'm working on that, and I have learned through only your Irish NGO, and through IRVP this helped me to go reach to the government. So this is
that's
my
great.
feedback
That's
to you.
great. That's
Yeah.
great, Purana, because poor investigations are quite common. It's not just in India, it's all around the world. So we're all in the
Yes.
same boat. Um,
Hmm.
and the reason for this is, I think, because road traffic collisions are not treated, or road traffic offences are not treated like other crimes. I mean,
Yes.
just because the death is caused by a car, it doesn't make it any less of a death. It still has the same
Yes.
impact on our families. So, what we
Yes.
need to ensure is that these events are treated like other crimes, and that they're investigated just as thoroughly as other
Yes.
sudden and unnatural deaths. And really, they should be treated as homicides, unless and until the contrary is proven. And
Yes.
that's what we are insisting on, that they are treated like homicides, and that victims are treated like other victims of crime, um,
Yes.
until it is proven that it wasn't a crime, that the death wasn't as a result of anybody's dangerous driving. Um, So yes, what we've tried to do in the IRVP is empower families who have been affected as well, and to
Yes.
empower NGOs to help those families.
Yes.
And so our last report was writing a guide for families bereaved by road traffic crashes.
Hmm.
And in there, there's a lot of information that will help families as they deal with the horrific aftermath. It will help them um, so that they know the questions that they need to ask of the police.
Yes.
And that will make sure that there is a police or a thorough police investigation. And we
Yes.
need we need to see that happening every time. Every time there's a death and serious injury on the roads, because every
Yes.
life matters. Every
Of
single life
course.
matters.
Of course.
And if we don't investigate thoroughly, we're not only letting down the families and the severely traumatized victims, but we're also making sure that our road safety interventions are not actually evidence based, because we
Yes.
must collect that evidence in order to
Yes.
ensure that we have evidence based interventions. So it's all a little circle, and starting from the families, empowering the poor families, and they're at their lowest ebb. They're really on the ground when this has happened to them. And it's to
Yes.
try and lift them up and give them that power so that they can ask the questions. And the NGOs can support them in asking those questions. And
Yes.
in so doing, then they are prompting thorough investigations and evidence gathering so that we will have the data that we need in order to ensure that we have appropriate interventions. And after all, what we're trying to do is prevent what happened to us happening to other families. So we don't want to see any more people like Dilip, whose lives have been
Yes.
destroyed,
True.
or families like mine, whose lives
Yes.
have been turned around. I mean, I would like nothing more but to lie on a beach somewhere rather than having to do this work. But we are compelled to try to do
Yes.
something to prevent what
Yes.
happened to us happening
Yes.
to another family.
Yes.
And if we can do that, and we have a huge job on our hands, because we're trying to have the number of deaths now during the next decade. And even if we succeed in having them, we're still accepting that over
50%.
700,000
Yes.
are going to lose
50%
their
we are
lives.
accepting that it is accepted. Yeah, that is my take also. That halving the deaths means we are accepting 50% deaths to be done.
Exactly. And that's
Yeah.
if we reach that target, we're still accepting that huge level
Yes.
of carnage.
Of
And
course.
it's a lot of human suffering that could be avoided, because
Yes.
none of these deaths
Yes.
um, should happen. They're all
Yes.
preventable. I know
Sure.
we'll have sometimes we'll have a medical occurrence. Maybe somebody might have a heart attack at the wheel or something, which is unavoidable. But generally, they're totally preventable, and we must do more. And all of us can play our small part. Every
Yep.
man, woman, and child listening here today can try to ensure that they play their small part in trying
Yes.
to save lives. And it could
Yes.
be as simple as putting your phone in the drawer of the car and not using it while you're driving, or wearing your high vis, if you're out on the pedestrian late at night, or wearing your helmet, when you're on a bicycle or on a moped. Really small interventions, your seatbelt, unbelievable here in Ireland. 1 in 4 passengers killed were not wearing a seatbelt. And how long, for years and years and years, we've been appealing to people to put on their seatbelt. Such a simple intervention, and it can help save lives and prevent another family being destroyed. And that's all
Yeah.
we're trying to do. So everybody has a role to play, and we must get that out there, and raise our voices as victims to make sure that we have the thorough investigations, that we have effective deterrence in place to stop this pandemic. It's another pandemic, or a
Yes.
war. It's
And
like a
it is
war.
a continuous pandemic actually. It is not 1 year or 1 month or 2 months. It is a continuous, and we do not know how long it will gonna, continue this thing. This is a very strange and very, I don't know, very fearful thing that we do not know even that. And for this pandemic, we don't have any virus or things like that. It is not an infection disease. It's in our hand. The human being itself is responsible for this pandemic create. creation and are responsible for, as in vaccine also, like you have rightly said, a seat belt is a very simple intervention. You just need to, buckle up yourself. But that is also, if you are not doing, knowing everything, what we can do on that thing. So
Unfortunately, it doesn't. Unfortunately, it doesn't guarantee that you won't lose your life. And my son was wearing his seatbelt. It didn't save his life, but it saves the lives of so many. And it's still worthwhile making that call to make sure that we wear our seatbelts and wear our helmets. It's not going to help in all cases, but it will save lives in some.
but majorly on major cases and on a small, like for the, like for in my brother case, in my case, I was when I met with an accident, 20 years ago. I was in the college and I was driving my own vehicle, and my cloth, my scarf was, fixed in the wheel, and I fall down by myself only. It was my fault. But because of I was wearing a helmet and it was strapped and it was an ISI standard helmet, I am alive right now. Otherwise, I would have not. And my brother, who was also holding a helmet, but who hold helmet on his head, not on head, and he got only head injuries. On his body, not a single mark of any injury. He just actually he got what we derived from the
Mm,
scenario that
mm,
one vehicle maybe passed him and he just hit a very small hit and then he fall down on the road and he just got a head injury. If
yes.
that day he was wearing a helmet which he was holding with him, but he was not wearing that on his head, and his head just uh, I don't know. But I do know that he was survived if he was wearing that
If he's
helmet,
wearing
because
his
the
helmet.
same incident happened to me and I was survived because of helmet only, and he would have been survived if he was wearing an helmet. So helmet and seat belts are very important. Maybe in, not all cases, but on majority of cases, seat belt and helmets actually help and they save people. From, but let's let's do our work with that particular zeal which we are doing. Thank you, Donna, though it was very hard for you to come and speak, because you are the person who always remain backside and you know uh, kind of a power wheel for all of us to make us on in front, and you always from backside always support us. But this time I really wanted you to come in forefront and speak, and you accepted my request. For that I'm really thankful to you.
Thank you,
And
Farana. That's very nice of you to say that. We all work very hard. I know you do too. We all work very hard in the IRVP and in the
yes,
Global Alliance. Many of us are members of the
yes,
Global Alliance as well. So,
yes,
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 I always say together we are stronger. Together we
yes,
can. We can do this. Um,
yes,
and let's continue with our efforts. And
yes,
I'm very proud of all of the work that the NGOs are doing. Many are unfunded, and many are led by victims who have been impacted, as we have
yes,
been.
yes,
So it is really commendable that they do this work. In fact, we're compelled to act. Having experienced it,
yes,
we don't want another family to be hurt as we have been,
very true.
particularly as they're so preventable. And we can all do something to try to save lives and prevent those injuries. So let's do it. Let's continue to do our work together. And thank you so much for
Yes.
having me. Really,
Thank you,
really
Donna.
pleased.
Thank you so much. Have a
Thank you,
safe day.
Prana. Thank you very
Bye
much.
bye.
Bye
Bye
bye. Bye
bye.
bye. Thank you.
Jai Hind.
Bye bye.
Bye bye. So, dear listeners, you were just watching Donna Price. She's a co-founder of International Road Victims Partnerships, and you have listened very strongly. She has raised the point about the victims' rights, that whenever any accident happened and person just left behind the victim and he run away, and that fellow doesn't get the proper medical aid sometimes, and even don't know where to reach, what questions to be asked by the police, how to be followed by the follow to the police, that whether they are doing proper investigation or not. So no, so that is why International Road Victim Partnership is really supporting more than 135 NGOs around the globe to to become empowered. They have published more than 6 reports on various topics for the victims' rights, how to empower the victims' families who are compelled to, like Donna said, that she would like to be on the beach, lying, playing with their family and children, but now she has to compelled, and she compelled to work on these bereaved families and to support the victims, because she has lost her 18-year-old son way back. And she and we all don't want to make this list longer and to include more people in our group. We don't want that to make our group bigger in size, because if if it is gonna done, then that means that we are accepting that more people should die on road and more families should come to us. No, we don't want that. We actually want to reduce, we want to break it at this chain. And we don't even accept the 50% halving target. We want it entirely vision zero, because if we are asking 50% halving by 2030, that means we are accepting that 50% deaths are acceptable on road, and we want to add them in our chain. So as a victim, I myself is a road crash victim, and I have lost my younger brother in hit and run case. And like Donna said, and we in international road victim partnership, we actually have a people who have lost their family members, who have lost their loved ones, and that compelled them to come to this work. And we don't want the other people to join this chain. Please break this chain like we have done in coronavirus. We have break the chain. We don't want to be part of corona patients. So that is why we did this, and we maintained the distancing, and we used all the safety procedures which we are asked by the government. And we actually come up with the this thing to break down this pandemic. But the crashes on roads and road deaths are the that pandemic which is going on, and we do not know when it is going to stop. And the bad part and unfortunate part is that we the human are responsible for this pandemic, and we the human are actually responsible to stop this pandemic as well, by doing simple things like Donna has said, that please wear seatbelt, please follow traffic safety rules, please drive in speed limits, don't drive drunken driving. Don't use mobile while you are driving. Very simple tips. Please wear helmet. And if you see any road crash victim, please come forward, help them. Now in India also, you have a good Samaritan law. Government is backing you. You don't gonna face any legal procedure if you support or provide help to the accident victim. Please help them. Please let them reach to the hospital. Please come forward. This is the only appeal we can do right now, and we are doing. Everybody is coming and asking you, please be safe on road, drive safe on road. And if you see any accident victim, please render your help. Please send support him to save his life. That is the major message we all are want to give you. Please be safe, be safe, save your own life on roads. Please be vaccine by yourself to break this pandemic chain. Thank you so much. I am Prerna Arora Singh, now signing off from here. And tomorrow morning, I'll come back with new guest, and we'll talk on some policy decision matters and how Decade of Action is going ahead. On that, we have one national guest and one international guest, as we are doing every day. So till then, please be safe on road. Please, if you see any accident victim, please support and render your help to save his life. Till then, be safe, be blessed. Bye bye.